Are the events of August 5th or August 6th and August 9th still taught in school? I guess middle school would be the appropriate place. Well, maybe high school in this country. Are those do those dates mean anything? The other night I was wondering if students today were taught about the American Union movement, and the quick answer that comes to me is no. And I just wonder if the closing days of World War II, in the Pacific part of that war, if those events are still taught in school. I was taught that. I was told about the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I can remember my social studies textbook from, I want to say it was 5th or 6th grade, pictures of Paul Tibbets, and his crew. Isn't it interesting that we don't know, not readily know, the crew of the B-29 that flew over Nagasaki, but we do know Hiroshima. But I remember seeing the pictures of Fat Boy or Fat Man and Little Boy, the nuclear bombs, in my textbook. And I just wonder if today that is taught as part of U.S. history. Probably not. Probably not. Back to your phone calls as quickly as we can here. Bruce is calling from California, listening on the Internet. Hey, Bruce.
Good evening, Mike.
Hi.
I wanted to make a comment about the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Sure.
And the main reason that urban targets were selected was because they wanted to see the effect that those bombs would have on an urban target.
Sorry.
Oh. You got the military that actually wanted to see what would happen.
Right.
If you remember all of the tests that were done after the war ended, bombing in Wetak Atoll in the Pacific, all the different things that were done to test the effectiveness and the destructive power of those bombs.
Yeah, especially when we got to the thermonuclear bombs, the hydrogen bombs. I've read that before. An agreement with what you're saying, that part of it was an experiment where live human beings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki were to be used.
Exactly.
Right.
And you could actually, they wanted to determine what, how much destruction would be caused by this. I mean, if you think about it for a minute, that bomb could have been dropped offshore, and the wave that would have been caused, the heat blast, the massive mushroom cloud, etc., would have been enough to have intimidated any population.
Right.
And it wasn't necessary to destroy an urban center that wasn't even a military target, except that they needed to see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, again, like I say, Bruce, I've heard that before, and I certainly do agree with it, that it was a laboratory experiment to determine medical results, physical results, environmental results. Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate you checking in. And the fact that we use live human beings in the experiment was a clear indication that this was an act of terrorism. I remember reading when Colonel Tibbets died. Well, he was promoted to General. Paul Tibbets, the pilot of the Enola Gay, when he died, what was it, within the past 5, 6, 10 years? It's been relatively recently. He said that he never had a sleepless night after the bombing of Hiroshima, that he knew full well what that bombing run had accomplished, if that's the right word, and he had no problems with it, which I think, to me, I remember thinking at the time when I read that was a clear indication of the power of absolute brainwashing. And not necessarily the kind of brainwashing that must occur in the military if people are being programmed to kill and to die if necessary. A different kind of brainwashing, a political brainwashing. That it was so complete in the case of General Tibbets that the fact that he alone, and I don't care how it's spun, it makes no difference how it's incorporated into a strategic decision made in Washington or a tactical decision made by the commanders of the Pacific War. It doesn't matter. The pilot of that B-29 was Paul Tibbets. And he and his flight crew, but he, because he was the captain, was directly responsible in an instant, in an immeasurably small amount of time, directly responsible for the deaths of 70,000 people that quickly. And subsequent to the explosion, over the next several months, several years, the deaths of tens of thousands more. And how Paul Tibbets could say that he never had a sleepless night I can't believe that Paul Tibbets was a demon from hell and therefore completely amoral, completely without conscience. I can't believe that. Maybe he was, but I can't believe that. So what I'm left with is the idea, the belief that Paul Tibbets had been so thoroughly politically scrubbed, his mind completely scrubbed, that he was able to deny the humanity or the lives of the people that were murdered on October 6th, 1945. I don't know how one does that. How is that accomplished? Or was Paul Tibbets lying? Did he suffer the tortures of the damned every single night in his dreams? I don't know. He lived into his 80s, didn't he? He was a relatively old man when he died. I'm not blaming Tibbets for the decision. He didn't make the decision. Nor did the pilot of the second aircraft that flew over Nagasaki. But it was Tibbets who was the captain of the ship that dropped that piece of hell. I don't know. I guess it really doesn't matter, does it? I'll see you tomorrow night, Truth Seekers. Take care. Keep it lit. I'm Mike Malloy. This is Nova M Radio.